You've seen it, I've seen it, Cody Rhodes' mum has probably seen it, she probably helped him write the thing. But Cody Rhodes just cooked The Rock, which obviously was intentional as part of the story. That's right, happened on Raw last night. Remember Goofy wrestling for life, the only good thing in professional wrestling. Was not true, I don't know why I said it. But after The Rock had come out and SmackDown last week and done, well, a segment so good, people were like, oh my gosh, he's going to start getting cheered and Cody's going to get booed. Clearly, we sent a brand new memo to the American Nightmare. We said, listen, don't worry about the PG material. We need you to go out there and go absolutely nuts. And I tell you, if you haven't seen this segment, you should probably change that right now. It's fun, it's entertaining, and it has a real edge to it. Not Adam Copeland, he went to AEW. But I do think this was crucial, and I do think this was important to make sure that Cody kind of stands toe-to-toe with the Great One. Because while he did shed some tears last week, and yes, I put this up on my Twitter at Simon316. I know, Simon, your Twitter is so annoying. I totally agree with you. I have to deal with this every single day. I did see I don't even know where it came from. It was on X, basically. I don't know what shows he does these days. But Vince Russo was saying, oh man, I can't believe Cody Rhodes quite so pathetic. And I was like, I don't particularly agree with that statement. Again, everyone is allowed their own opinion. But to me, one of the great things about Cody Rhodes is that he is so emotional. Now, I don't want to be the newsbreaker here, but we are all humans and we have all tears. It's an emotion that is on hand. So when you are trying to portray a character, why wouldn't every now and then work it into the story? That just makes all the sense in the world. I know you can't do it all of the time, but I think picking and choosing your moments, it really does bring some power. But on the flip side, if somebody does come at you and says things like, man, I'm going to beat up your mum, whatever the hell The Rock said, of course you need to come back with fire, and that's exactly what Rhodes did. I mean, he went to everything here. He talked about $7 Productions, which I was like, oh man, we're getting in deep in the weeds, and he even mentioned Brian Gewirtz's name, which I can never pronounce properly, so you have to forgive me. I've even read his book, and I know that annoys him, so again, I am sorry. But then Brian Gewirtz even came out on Twitter, because basically Cody had said, oh, I bet he came up with the Final Boss nickname. And then Brian was like, nope, The Rock's been calling himself that for ages. I was like, I don't know what good this is doing anyone, but I am massively enjoying it. But it just made sure that whatever excitement we get from The Rock, from being that character, Cody proved that he can do it as well. And he talked about the fact, oh, you're going on social media and calling yourself a heel. I just think you're a massive asshole. He called him a whiny ditch. All of these things. And he was just so angry in the best possible way because he's telling you, you can't come at me. You can't say these things to me unless you're going to get a receipt. So now The Rock hit him, so he hit The Rock. Now The Rock has turned the dial, so he turned the dial. And this is actually, I think, the genius of this whole thing. We are basically making sure that at every step we are portraying Cody in the same realm as The Rock. Now, of course, it's always going to be a little bit different because Dwayne Johnson is a super duper massive megastar, but I do appreciate it, and I do feel like this has been thought out quite well. And I would assume that they are both behind the scenes texting each other going, tee, this is working exactly how we planned it would. But now, kind of did a video on this yesterday, I'm convinced. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. But if the plan ever was at WrestleMania 40 to reveal The Rock was a spy in the bloodline, change it. Even if we never actually get to it, just because The Rock's schedule is so crazy, even if it's on the table, right? And we just put it out there and it remains as a potential match, I need Cody Rhodes versus The Rock. I never thought I'd said this. This wasn't even a thought in my brain when The Rock did come back to look at Roman Reigns to let him know that he was super duper mad. But you could take all of the promos and all the back and forth and the family stuff, whatever else it may be, and that could make an amazing match for, I mean, I'd rather it wasn't, but if you want to do it at the Saudi Arabia show or SummerSlam or Raw Rumble, I think WrestleMania 41 probably will be The Rock versus Roman Reigns. But whatever. I would keep this in our back pocket and I would firing it out into the wilderness as soon as we can do it. And if you haven't seen Cody's promo, I really think that you should. And of course, he's wearing a black suit, which is always a nice wink, wink, nudge, nudge. He enjoys doing stuff like that. And I do too, sometimes applying things that are right on the nose. Well, there's a reason that people do it, right? Because it just works. It's Star Wars. But absolutely now, Cody's just firing on all cylinders as far as I'm concerned. You get the emotional stuff last week, you get the hard-hitting stuff this week, and of course, now he's going to SmackDown to have his big face-to-face with Roman Reigns. There it is again. And he basically told Seth Rollins and Jey Uso, I think I'll be okay. Now, Jey did say he was going to turn up anyway, because you have to presume the Bloodline are going to attack. And speaking of the Bloodline, they have to be the reason that Seth Rollins loses that World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania. I've also convinced myself of this as well. Drew McIntyre has done such a good job of being a somewhat hypocritical asshole, but also someone who kind of justifies all his decisions because he is a truth speaker. But if he does win that World Heavyweight Championship, because of the people that cost him it, all the way back at Clash of the Castle, just because he is done with all the nonsense, it's just going to be absolutely excellent when Seth tries to tell him this, and Drew's just going to be like, I don't care, I got what I wanted, and we can go on from there. And of course, there's an extra wrinkle to all of this, because there was a random video on Raw. We all knew that CM Punk was going to be on the show next week. It's in Chicago. Why wouldn't you do that? It's like giving somebody free bread. But he also said, hey, my real name is Phil. WrestleMania is in Philadelphia. So there you go. I mean, that is... It's quite a stretch in terms of justifying yourself on the show, but that makes it really interesting. Now, he got announced for all the access stuff or the meet and greet stuff quite a few weeks ago, so maybe he just means that, or maybe he is going to be on the show itself. Maybe he gets involved in that. I don't 100% know if that's what I do want, but again, until I see it executed, I can't make that call. I think what I'm saying there is I don't want Drew McIntyre to lose the championship because CM Punk gets involved, because I think when we do get to Drew versus CM Punk, if Drew is the champion after being absolute goober, that creates even more depth to that story. I think it would make it more interesting, although at the same time, unless Punk is having a super recovery, which I hope he is, he's probably not going to be back until August, probably September. Maybe Seth will get back by then. I do not know, but I think coming out the other side of WrestleMania, if you do want to give Seth a little bit more of an attitude, a little bit more, I am going to rip your throat out, you can absolutely do that. And also, it would justify the fact that the Bloodline win the tag team match on night one, which I think they will do, because then not only do they get involved in the Cody Rhodes thing, which of course they want to do, but they can do it with Seth Rollins as well, and wagging their fingers going, well, we told you we were going to get involved, so it's your fault, you pissed us off. So yeah, I love the fact that even just then, with me sort of like running my mouth, you can kind of have a crossing of the streams when it comes to all of our stories, and that was, I don't want to say that was sort of the theme of Raw, but basically we are heading to WrestleMania now, so we're getting stuff sorted, and we got the six-pack ladder tag team match additions too. DIY going in, they had a brilliant match with the Creeds. The Creeds terrify me, man. It's like looking at a car wreck. You want to look away, but you just can't, because you're almost fascinated by it. And of course, who else went through? New Day went through, and R-Truth and The Miz went through. I am fine with all of this. It means what? Right now we have DIY, we have the Judgment Day, obviously. That's it, isn't it? We have The Miz and R-Truth, and we have the New Day. I presume that Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate will be in it as well, and I can't for the life of me think who the sixth team would be. Imperium, maybe? I don't know. But I think that is going to be, well, absolutely crazy, to say nothing else. But the only real negatives that I've seen people talking about is some people just don't like The Miz and R-Truth, which is totally fine. You don't have to be into them. I love them. And the fact, this is why R-Truth is the best person ever. They had Indashare beat, right? Veer was down. He came all over Raw. They'd hit their flatliner, skull-crushing finale thingy, whatever the hell it's meant to be. But rather than just pin Veer, I bet R-Truth probably came up with this. He was like, no, let me go and try and get rid of Sanga. He can hit me with his elbow, the pointed bit, and I can just fall on Veer and kind of get the fluke win, but also not, because it was our teamwork that knocked him out to begin with. That is a dude who, as far as I'm concerned, is always thinking outside the box, always thinking about how can I make this more entertaining, and doesn't really care about wins or losses in a good way. Like, I mean this in a perfectly positive sense. He's like a 51-year-old man or whatever it is. He doesn't look 51. He's still amazing. He still move. Like, he doesn't make any sense, R-Truth, but he gets it. Right now, it's just about having fun and making sure people do leave with a smile on their face, and I get that every single time. Even when he cuts promos on social media, he makes me laugh. And what happens when you do that, I feel, as long as you commit to it 100%, which is something else he always does, by and large, because again, there's always some naysayers, people now want him to be one half the tag team champions coming out the other end of WrestleMania. No offense to The Miz, another guy that doesn't get the respect that he deserves. You could put anybody with R-Truth. You could go and find Nicholas. You remember Braun Strowman and Nicholas, the tag team champions? You could go and find Nicholas, and you could put him with R-Truth, and everybody would be happy if R-Truth won the title, because that's how much they love him. So that was fun, putting the New Day in there. I'm always going to get behind because I'm a big fan of the New Day. And DIY, as Michael Cole told us over and over and over again, they've never been on WrestleMania, and both those guys are such super duper fans. I bet this is a big deal, and you just know they're going to do something nuts. So I thought that was fun. Becky Lynch versus Nia Jax, last woman standing, was an excellent match. Mostly, but I mean, the whole thing was good. But that spot they did at the end, when Nia was all wibbly-jibbly after taking the manhandle slam, and she was kind of leaning over Alan the announce table to, I suppose, try and get her win back or whatever, take her med pack, and then Becky Lynch jumps off the ladder and leg dropped her through a table, meaning it broke because Nia Jax's face went into the thing. It looked absolutely badass. Becky Lynch is just on fire right now. She doesn't have bad matches. And I love the fact you have Rhea coming out to stare down Becky, because that's it. She's got rid of her final obstacle, her final hurdle, and now we can get to that match. Now I'm going to try and do another video this week, just going through the WrestleMania card, because actually when you do look at it, it has so many good matches. It could be a proper all-timer, once again, as long as they go the way that we hope they do go. But that was a great way to end Raw, because I do think that feud has a lot of momentum and a lot of heat to it. People are enjoying that. And speaking of the women's division, I don't know if I'm alone in this or not. I kind of feel like I am. I don't like how short these things go, because I think that instinctively tells the fan base, oh, you don't really need to care about this, because we're just going to vault through it. But Candice LeRae, all of a sudden being one of the hater of the years, and yes, she made it onto the board. Make sure you check out my ups and downs for Raw over on What Culture Wrestling. Should be a card on the screen. Is so much more interesting than what she was doing. Now, yes, she has to come at one point and explain this to not only us, but Indy Hartwell, who's being emotionally dragged through the bushes. But screwing over Maxine Dupree last week, listen, that was pretty intense, but it gave her that edge we've been looking for. And then doing it again here. As soon as Katana Chance gets injured with her foot, she's like, I don't care, which she shouldn't have done, by the way. If the referee's going to stop the fight, that should be the end of the match. She whips her ass, she puts her in a leg submission, and she gets a tap-out win, shrug emoji, and she walks off. Now listen, Candice LeRae is a brilliant professional wrestler. Down at NXT, she was excellent. I was the first to say, well, this is a little bit weird because I think she's more of a natural baby face. But in 2 weeks, I am far more intrigued about what she's going to do next week, and I certainly didn't feel that way 2 weeks ago. So why the hell not? It may not work. The bottom may fall out and it may go in totally the wrong direction, but in terms of me just sitting there and trying to get something out of my TV program, it gets a couple of thumbs up. And maybe we do Candice versus Indy at WrestleMania, or maybe after that because they fall out because Hartwell's like, yeah, morally, you could be the worst person ever, and that's true. So far, she's attacked an injured person and mentally broken something else. So next week, she's probably going to decapitate someone. Judgment Day 2 continues to roll on like everyone was like, JD McDonough, you sucked last week, and now we're mad at you. So we did Dominic Mysterio versus Ricochet and continue to tease that maybe we're going to do something with Andrade. This is just something that's come to my head now because I have to figure these guys are going to have some space on WrestleMania. So you could do Andrade versus Dominic Mysterio, but maybe given the extra people involved, it's going to be Ricochet and Andrade taking on Dom and JD. It's a little bit, I don't want to say lackluster, but it kind of feels out of nowhere. But usually the remit is to get as many people as possible onto WrestleMania. If someone deserves to be on WrestleMania, it's Dominic Mysterio. He's had a hell of a year, coming off the fact that he lost to his dad last year, but still, he did a really, really good job. But that one is a little bit confusing in terms of WrestleMania, but I like what we're doing. We're still continuing to tease that they kind of like Dom, but they don't like Dom. The Judgment Day, I mean, Damian Priest is just super mad, but I'm glad that Ricochet is back on TV, because before the Gauntlet match last week, we hadn't seen him in ages. I don't think he'd been injured or anything. And once more, this ties into the other stuff we've been talking about. He's just so fun to watch. Sometimes that's all I need, especially in a 3-hour show. There were so many segments on this show, it was nuts. So sometimes I want a guy to come out there, I want him to do flippy-dippy-doo-dah stuff and wow me, and Ricochet can do that without even thinking about it. Can't get mad at it. And we made sure to heat up everything with the Intercontinental title too. And the very interesting thing about this is we did the contract signing, which WWE loves to do. Gunther's telling Sami Zayn, you can't beat me. And Sam's like, I can't beat you. I'm going to prove you wrong. But Chad Gable is also mad at Sami Zayn because he agrees with Gunther. Who saw that coming? He doesn't believe that Sami Zayn is able to defeat the Ring General because the way that Sami usually works is an underdog and he finds a flaw here and he finds a hole there and he's tried to take advantage of it. But Gunther is the Ring General. He's absolutely perfect. So how is Sam going to do that? Now, deep down, I don't think Chad Gable does mean this, but he's so mad that he lost out of his opportunity, he is now pissed off with Sami Zayn, which means if Sami does win at WrestleMania 40, Gunther, as far as I'm concerned, probably needs to go into the world title picture sooner rather than later. But if we do Chad Gable versus Sami Zayn coming out of that thing, one, you're going to get good matches, and two, here's that word again, you can give Chad Gable some edge. And maybe that's what he needs. Like, I do like him as a babyface, but I don't know how long that carries on for. So maybe we use his daughter's tears, this is some flubbed up stuff we're talking about, to again give him that bad side of his attitude. Maybe that is what he's missing. He's not missing anything, but maybe that's what we need to light a fire under his ass in terms of how he's booked on professional wrestling TV. So yeah, I mean, the other thing you should make sure you see as well, the camera work and the production work in WWE, I mean, the proof is there since certain individuals have stepped away, is way better. Sami Zayn leaves the ring, he goes to the back, and then when we find Miz and R-Truth, the camera stops, they have their conversation, and then they walk to the ring, and we did that in all one shot, and it was awesome, and it was continuous, and it doesn't matter how old I am, I will love this until the day that I die. Seeing wrestlers walk from the backstage area through the curtain into the live arena just makes me warm and fuzzy in my tum-tum. It gets me so pumped. If you put anything like that on social media or Instagram, I will watch it at least 10 million times, especially when you get to experience the pop from their perspective. So I think it was a good episode of Raw. I think we've done exactly what we need to with Cody. And not in my wildest dreams do I think Cody Rhodes is losing at WrestleMania. I see this all the time. Seth's going to turn him in, or this person's going to come back, or Cody's going to lose. It's done, right? It's done. Sometimes a story is super nice and simple, and you can even argue maybe we've even elongated this one longer than it needed to be. Let's just stop it. Crown Cody Rhodes. There's so many other stories to tell. That's something I saw on, where was it, on Reddit or something the other day. People were like, well, what other stories are we going to tell? Whatever story you want. You can put a goat in there and tell a story of the goat versus the alligator. And as long as you make it compelling, I will watch. Admittedly, I'm a positive Pete. But I am very high on WWE right now. I think they're doing a great job moving into WrestleMania. And yes, as I've already said on paper, I think WrestleMania could be one of the best of all times if they do it right. But for now, please do click the bell that's on the screen, notification crew, and click the video too. That's 2 clicks with your finger. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. There's a comment box down there. Tell me how wrong I am. Otherwise, it is goodmind.com/Simon. Simon get 10% off. Patreon.com/Simon316. Simon316 on Instagram and Twitter. Simon Miller on the Cameo. Simon J. Miller on TikTok. Samson the links, Pro Wrestling Tees. Again, if you're thinking to yourself, I would like to interact with some Simon Miller nonsense today, you can do that in the links below. But more importantly, appreciate you, appreciate the time. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I send you nothing but positivity and cheer. Take care, my friends. I will see you soon.